GCSE students have a lot of classes as well.
Oh, right, yeah, I
Yeah,
heard, yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy. It's like been a year since I did IGs. Like, I can't like register that.
A year, half a year, right?
Um, I think a year. I think like today, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
My
yeah, yeah, yeah.
first paper was like today.
Oh, because you did the summer paper, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'm really happy like you got really good grades for IG.
Thank you.
Good job. So you started A levels in the winter?
Yeah, I started in about like September.
Ah, okay. Okay, yeah. So now you're going to take your AS paper, right?
AS is in October.
Oh, okay. Then how about the upcoming exam? Is that like just for internal exams or
Yeah, that's internal exams, and then my mocks are in September, and then my uh real exam will be in October.
Oh, okay, so we have some time. I thought I thought you were gonna take your AS paper like in 2 weeks, and then I was like, I'm not sure how much we can cover, but okay, okay, okay. So we have some time. Okay. Um yeah. So I think you told me like the topics that you want to go through, right?
Yeah.
Um okay, so we'll just start with those. Um do you have any specific questions or should we go through like the whole topic like we usually do?
I think maybe we go through the whole topic, and if there's
Okay.
anything that I don't understand, I'll let you know.
Okay, sure. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll just go through like really quickly. You have your notebook with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good. So we'll go through Pozzulo first. Okay.
Okay.
Um I think what I will do is what we usually do. So test like how much you know and then I'll just fill in the blanks. Okay? All right.
Okay.
So this study had it looks into two aspects of psychology, right? Do you know what
Right.
these two aspects are?
Um, if I'm not mistaken, is it cognitive approach?
Yes, that is a keyword. But basically it's two key aspects, right? So the first one is eyewitness identification. I
Mm-hmm.
think you have heard of this before, right? When you're watching like crime shows or like even court cases. So eyewitness identification. And the second one is influence of social versus cognitive factors on decision making, right?
Okay.
And the um, key uh, people, I think, that they look at is young children.
Mm.
Okay, all right, so we'll start with eyewitness identification. Okay, so have you gone through eyewitness identification before, like in psych?
Um, like the procedure?
Anything you know about it? Do you know anything about it?
Uh, Not exactly. I think the first time I was introduced to that was this study.
Oh, really? So not really in shows or anything?
Oh, in shows, yeah, in shows definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
I
what?
think maybe pardon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's critical in forensic psychology, right? That's why you see it so much in shows, right?
Yeah.
And usually it will be regarding the reliability and accuracy of these eyewitness testimonies in the legal context. So that means like in courts and stuff, right? And so actually in law, we do study this as well, like how reliable it is and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, that's just a fun fact. But anyway, what happens in eyewitness identification? Do you know?
Um, I think it's like the child is presented with pictures or like their like pictures, and they're told to choose which one they recognize as um like the person who did it. So there'll be like suspects, and the child has to like pick.
Yes, okay. Yep. And what can affect this eyewitness identification?
Um. Uh. I I think like situational factors, maybe because with children they may feel pressured.
Mm-hmm.
So like like perhaps like maybe they may feel like, okay, there is a right and a wrong answer, so they
Yeah.
might just feel pressured to choose, and it may not be accurate.
Yep. So like psychological stress, right?
Yeah.
And the other things you can think about is memory, perception, all of that, right? So because we are looking at this from a psychology point of view, not really like a legal point of view, we think about how it is affected through the lens of psychology. Okay, all right. So the next one is the social versus cognitive influences, right? What are cognitive and social factors? Can you tell me?
Um, cognitive cognitive factors are factors that are caused by um your thinking, um basically, like, and social factors are like, for example, your behavior is affected by other people.
Yeah.
So I think a good example would maybe be obedience.
Obedience for which one?
Like, for example, like Milgram.
Okay.
um
Okay. And so that is a what factor?
uh um social.
Yeah. Why?
Because you're um in a like it's when like you allow other people to affect your own behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like, yeah, it's a bit hard to explain, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, cognitive is within yourself, right? So the
Yeah.
person's ability to accurately recall or recognize faces or details, right? But social factors is like what you say. It's like social pressure, maybe on decision making. So like you said just now, I think maybe there's a pressure to that there is a right or wrong answer. Maybe that can be considered social factor, right? Because there's pressure from the social context. Okay.
Right.
All right, so let's go into the details of this study. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about so remember how we go through studies? So first we talk about what?
We talk about the background.
Yes, the background, right? So tell me a little bit about the background of this study.
um so basically, I think there were like two other studies, or no, another study done before this study, and um I think, I don't know what the name was, but basically they found that children were like children were less likely to say like I don't know. Children were more likely to say like I don't know than adults, even when they knew that um even when they knew that the response was possible. And basically, what they use is they use a lineup, and the lineup is a way that um it's a way that the police it's the way that police it's a procedure that the police use to identify uh the perpetrator. So they line up the suspects and basically what the witness has to do is they have to um, select which of the individuals is actually the perpetrator. And I think the main problem with this, because like I think like we talked about how like false memory could also affect uh you know, this whole thing. So they wanted to see like how sometimes there can be mistakes, and this can lead to miscarriage of justice. So sometimes it just because someone says that it's this person, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's them. And they wanted to see the social effects, how the social effects on witnesses, and it's shown that children are more likely to make incorrect decisions in a lineup, um, in lineups, yeah, and this is related to social and cognitive factors. So sometimes they might think that they they might feel pressured to choose someone, even if the the suspects in front of them are not identifiable to them. They may feel pressured um to choose someone, and um when they do, you know, obviously that person did not do it, but it's because, you know, the child feels very pressured by the authority figures like the police that are surrounding them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And they, yeah.
Okay. What else? You have anything else?
Um, yeah, that's all I can think of.
Okay, so I think you have quite a bit of content in what you told me. It is very mixed, however, because we're only talking about the background here, right? But
Right.
I think what you told me actually had a bit of maybe like the aim of the remember one of the things we look at is the aim of the study, and then also like the procedure, um, and a little bit about like the findings, and then so you have quite a bit of things there, but it's all like kind of jumbled up a little bit.
Right.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to clean up basically what you said, what you know, and then also fill in the blanks of what you haven't said. Okay, so for the background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into parts, but I will just like present it to you, and then you let me know if you have any questions. Okay, all right, so the first thing is you need to know that this study is grounded in developmental psychology and cognitive psychology, right? Do you know why developmental?
Is it because it involves children?
Yeah, and they're still developing, right?
Yeah.
And then cognitive is because remember one of the aspects is also the factors is also cognitive factor, right? It refers to basically the memory and recognition, right? Because eyewitness identification requires these mental processes, right?
Right.
Okay, so what this study does is it explores how these factors influence their ability to accurately recall and identify individuals in lineups. Okay, I think you did mention this, right? So what does this include? It includes examining age-related differences in memory accuracy. Do you understand what that means?
Yeah.
Okay, and how susceptible they are to suggestion or leading questions, because I'm not really sure if this happens in lineups often, but when you go to court, there is leading questions and non-leading questions, right? And so they are trying to figure out whether children are susceptible to these, and the crucial factors in legal context, right? Because like I said, in court there are leading questions involved. Okay.
Miss, I have a quick question.
Yep.
Are there like certain rules in court to maintain the mental health of children during these because I think sometimes they do need to go on the stand.
Yeah.
Are there protective measures for the children, or other things that you can or cannot do with a child compared to an adult when it comes to witness testimonies?
Yeah, so I think the courts are very, very aware that children are still developing, and they're very they're less mature, I think, than adults. So there are actually a lot of protective measures put in place. However, that is just so much that a court can do, right? Putting a child through trial itself is already very taxing on them. But yes, the courts do have protective measures when it comes to children. Sometimes the court will also make sure that the child actually is mature enough to handle like a court hearing, right? So all of these are definitely put in place, yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so this study also looks at the specifics of eyewitness identification procedure, right? So what they did is they also look at the differences in the child responses to where the perpetrator is in the lineup versus where the perpetrator is not in the lineup. Right. So when there's a study, you have to have different variables, different things that you change. So this is one of the things that it was crucial for them to look at, right? And then the other thing is they explored the psychological mechanisms underlying these responses, right? So they sort of look through how the role of social cues, perceived authority expectations, and children's understanding of the task. Because sometimes as a child, they may not understand what they're supposed to do or what's expected of them, right? So this study takes all of these factors into account.
Right.
Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, and last but not least, the study builds on existing research. Like you said, there were previous research, right? So it builds on it, on the existing research on the accuracy and reliability of child eyewitness testimony, right? And then they compared it to adults. This is important because remember, we were looking at the developmental psychology as well, right? So we have to, in this study, they were figuring out what developmental stage children eyewitness abilities begin to mirror those of adults, and what factors might influence these abilities, right? So they are trying to figure out how old you have to be as a child to be considered for your eyewitness identification to be considered as accurate as an adult. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right. So the next one is the aim. Okay.
Okay.
The aim of the study, there are two. Okay, first is to determine the role of social versus cognitive factors in lineups, and the second is compare false positive rates between children and adults.
Okay.
Okay, so for the first aim, right, to delve deeper into it, the study looked at they look to assess whether false identification in target absent lineups. You know what target absent are?
Yeah, it's like when the target is not there.
Yeah. The perpetrator is not in the lineup. To whether false identification in those lineups are more influenced by social pressures rather than cognitive abilities. Because remember, we are looking at social versus cognitive, right?
Yep.
And this was tested using a lineup task with low cognitive demands, right? Where a high correct identification rate was expected. So that's the expectation, okay?
Okay.
And the second one, the false positive rates between children and adults. So the hypothesis is that while children and adults might have similar correct identification rates in easy lineups, children would show a higher rate of false positive in target absent lineups. So this would indicate what?
The false memory hypothesis.
Um, okay, so if children and adults have similar correct identification rates in easy lineups, right? And children show a higher rate of false positive. This means that they would have a greater susceptibility to social influences compared to adults.
Okay.
Yeah? All right.
I-
So when remember what's after aim?
Methods.
Yeah, so
Like the
procedure. Procedure, right? Okay, so there are a few things that we have to look at when it comes to procedure. So first of all, I think we've gone through this quite a bit. Participants, right? So you need to know who were the participants. Do you remember?
Okay, so for there were children and adults.
Mm-hmm.
So do I need to state the number and the characteristics of the participants?
Yes.
Okay, so for children there were about 59
Yep.
59 children. So 38 of them were male and 21 were female. Adults, 53 there were 53 adults, and there were 17 male and 36 females.
Very good.
So and for children, the characteristics is that they were I think it's a private school, and it was like pre-kindergarten kindergarten classes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas adults, the characteristics would be they were university students, I think.
Yep. And okay, very good. I think just a small thing. I think you did mention university and kindergarten, but if you want to know, their ages were children were between 4 to 7 and adults 17 to 30. Okay? Yeah. So for how about design? Do you know what design is?
Oh, like the experimental design.
Yeah.
It's independent measures.
Anything? Okay, so how? Okay, what else?
So it was a lab experiment. So the environment that they were in was artificial and highly controlled. So the participants went through two different types of experimental design. So they went through independent measures, so that a comparison could be made between the sample of children and the sample of adults. And then the repeated measures were used for the lineup. So this was used for target present and target absence to see the rate of false positives. And there was also it was also used for comparison of target familiarity, which which I think they used either the cartoon or the human.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Um. Okay. So I think again, there's. I'll just go through all of it. I think you got most of it. Yeah. There are just some uh, blanks that I have to fill up. Okay, so
Okay.
I think I'll just go through all of it just to do a revision and also fill up the blanks for you. Okay, all right.
Okay.
So for the design, right? In the most simple terms, okay. First, the study used a 2 by 2 by 2 type, right? So the first two is age group, young children versus adults, and then the next two is target type, cartoon versus human, and the last two is lineup type. Okay, so target present versus target absent. And so when you're talking about what type of design it is a mixed factorial design. Okay, I'll just send it over to you in case it's a bit you need to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
So I've sent it over to you. Alright, and the next one would be material. Okay, so I think you did mention most of these. So the first one will be demographics and cartoon watching form. Okay, so what happens is the participants, parents or guardians or for children, they provided the demographic information and details about their familiarity with the target cartoons used in the study. Okay,
Okay.
that's a bit long. Okay, and the next one is human face targets. I think you mentioned this as well, right? So, video clips of a female and male Caucasian university student performing everyday tasks with close-ups of their faces, right? Yeah. And then the next one is human face foils. So photographs of foils, similar looking individuals selected based on appearance similarity to the human targets. Following so far?
Yeah. Following.
Okay, cartoon targets is the next one. Clips of Dora the Explorer and Go Diego Go, focusing on the characters' faces. And the last one for material would be cartoon foils, images of cartoon characters similar to the targets.
Okay.
Okay, next one would be procedure. Again, I think. Yeah, next one would be procedure. So this is a sub point under procedure as well. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So procedure, there are three. So first is the lineup presentation, second is instructions, and third, how it is administered, right? Administration. Okay. So the lineup presentation, how was it? Do you remember?
Okay, so basically they prepared video clips and photographs, and the researchers prepared a target present lineup and a target absent lineup. So that each participant would watch 4 videos in total, I think, and these videos were presented in a random order, and each video was followed up by a lineup task. And
Okay, so for the presentation in a lineup, right? What
Right.
type of procedure did they use?
Counterbalancing.
Simultaneous procedure.
Okay.
Okay, do you know what simultaneous procedure is?
No, I don't.
Okay, so simultaneous procedure is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I'm using my iPad, so I'm like writing on it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, hold on, yeah. Okay, so simultaneous procedure is when the key component of the procedure are occurring all or in part at the same time. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, uh, okay, so it was a simultaneous procedure, and then the lineups, as you said, either target present or target absent, right? So in target absent, using like some of the materials that we mentioned earlier, can you tell me how target absent lineups were shown?
Um. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Okay, so basically it excluded the target but includes similar foils. Do you remember what foils are?
Is it the related to the videos and the photo arrays?
So remember in the materials we had human face foils. So
Right.
and also cartoon foils. And so basically foils are just images similar to the target. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's a simple way of putting it, right? For humans, maybe they use appearances similar to the human targets. Okay? So basically, they all look like the target but were not the targets.
Oh, okay.
Okay? All right. Okay, and then the instructions, I think this is quite simple, right? So they were just instructed to point, right, if the person or cartoon from the video were present, or to the designated box if not present. Okay, and how it was administered is there were 3 female experimenters dressed in professional casual attire. Do you know why professional casual attire?
Is it like because if I'm not mistaken, like the choice in clothing can also affect like is it obedience? Like it's giving like the authoritarian vibe.
Yes. To reduce authority cues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, basically. Okay. How were the data collected? So first of all, the study used what type of tasks?
I'm not sure.
Visual recognition, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I know these kind of questions are like when I ask you, you're like, oh, I'm not sure, but when you hear it, you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So visual recognition, as stated in the name, participants viewed the video clips and subsequently identified from photo lineups displayed on laptop screens, right? I think you did mention this in the aims actually, right? Yeah. Okay, so remember we talked about variables just now. Can you tell me what the 2 variables we would be looking at are?
Like the independent and the dependent?
Yeah. Okay, so right now we'll call it measured and manipulated, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what was manipulated? I think manipulated is easier, I think, to understand, right? Because what did you manipulate, kind of thing, right? Okay, so yeah, what was the manipulated variable?
The lineup. So in the sense, like some of them had the target in the lineup and some of them didn't.
Yeah, very good. What else?
The videos and the photo arrays showed pictures that were similar to the target, but wasn't the target. So
Okay. I think that's just how a lineup is. But when we are talking about how the study manipulate what variables were manipulated in the study itself, you have to look at how the different lineups or different factors were. So not not the thing that we're talking about. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so the other two would be the age of the participants, children
Okay.
versus adults, and the type of target. So remember, there were human and cartoon,
Okay.
right? Okay, so what was the measured variable?
The measured variable would be the correct identification and false positives of the lineup.
Okay, so correct identification and what else?
False positives.
Right, so false positive would be incorrect identification, right?
Right.
What else?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so remember, remember there are target present and target what?
Absent.
Right. So just now you were just talking about tag target present, and then if they were correct, right? But we have
Right.
to think about in target absent, you said false positive, right? So that means that would present in target present and target absent as well. But how about target absent? If they got it correctly, what would they get? It would be correct rejections, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about this, you can think about if there is correct identification in target present lineups, then what should they get in target absent lineups? It should be correct rejections as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so and these are to assess the influence of social and cognitive factors on the participants' decision making process. Okay?
Okay.
You understand so far?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, very good. Okay, so could